Okay. Perek, Hilchos Chometz Matzah. Perek Chamishi. What page are we on in the 307 in the standard edition? Okay. Not a short Perek today. We'll do our best. 307.
Okay, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Sir, we're
Halacha Aleph. Ein Isser Chometz Mishum Chometz Pesach Ela Chamesh Mil Dam Levad. The Isser Chometz Pesach only applies to flour made from 5 types of grain. The Chitim, 2 species of wheat. Which is wheat and spelt. The 3 types of barley, which is barley, shul, and oats. And rice. However, kidney is legumes. For example, which is normally translated as rice. Which is normally translated as millet. However, sometimes rice and millet are reversed. Sometimes translated as millet and translation is rice. The poilim and beans, shadashim and lentils, similar things. And then chametz is no problem of chametz. Even if you needed a flour of rice or any other type of legume. Or bean, hot water. So the God that you covered it with a shmata, with a garment patch, and this spatula is bloated. Maybe take like dough, like dough. Sheikhments that becomes chametz, so it resembles the process of leavening. The reason which you're allowed to eat on Pesach. Shades of chimas, that's not called chametz. That's not called leavening. And the sirch is considered the spoiler of decay. It's a different chemical process. Halacha base.
I don't know why it's called sirch. You eat it. This is something you eat.
Not decaying in the sense of spoiling bad, but the process of that chemical process. You have a good question. I don't know what's exactly the Rambam didn't have our chemical language. What's called sirch in that kind of
the thing is that rise doesn't happen by outside of the 5 grains. It doesn't rise. It doesn't swell.
Right. No, so it could rise physically. That's what he's saying over here. That's why it resembles so strongly the idea of.
The thing is, it can ferment.
Oh, so even fermenting, I think, is a chametz type of language.
No, fermenting is a chametz type of language, 100%.
Let's go back.
Okay, good. So it ferments, but it's not chametz. Good, okay. All right. So halacha beis. Chamesh midamim, these type of species of grain, lush, and then they pairs if you need them with fruit juice, not with water. Movad alone, but without any water at all. The chimers are never going to come to the leaven. Now, does that mean they're never going to come to leaven at all, or just not the same level as water? We'll see. So, even if you left, let's say, regular wheat flour with pure apple juice, or pure milk, and the dough bloated, with the bachil allowed to eat on Pesach, made Paris does not cause chametz. It causes what we said before. Water does to rice. Right. Apple juice does to wheat. Who made Paris hay and what's down in Paris? Yain, wine, bachala, milk, vash, and honey. It says in the first, which means side bee honey, side date honey. Shemen zayis, olive oil, metapuchim, apple juice, Mediterranean pomegranate juice, chol bits of the hand, mishar yain, shmona, and other types of wines and oils and beverages. We provide shalom yisar ben shum mayim provide us not even a tiny drop of water mixed them at all. Because if there's yisar ben mayim kol shum, if the smallest amount of water gets in, it could become chametz. In fact, it says it can become chametz even fast and other types and then in water.
Yeah.
Now let it cook wheat in water. For example, cracked wheat or groats, like kemach or flour. Look at for example, which are like dough balls. It's like a cradle, but it's a matzah meal. It's actual dough. The should be cooked on Pesach. It is a chametz gomer. You consider chametz gomer. We provided in his back that they cracked open. If the grain cracked open, then we know for sure it became chametz. Now, now that a frying dough and oil on a frying pan, the dough is mixed with water, and as you're frying a lot like a wheat water. Because then again, chametz again, the water with oil makes the chametz cookie, and especially the heat. Al-Mubashir Zapas is a chemical. You're allowed to cook bread. You're allowed to cook regular bread, and you're allowed to cook. You're allowed to cook. You had a pas over here means the loaf of matzah. You have already baked matzah. You want to cook that? You could do that. So take a matzah, make matzah balls, and Pesach allowed to.
That means once it became matzah.
Yeah, once you baked matzah,
they say gebrocks is mutter.
but not just gebrocks. Here you're cooking it. It's still okay. Yeah. Not just
But from raw.
No. Regular matzah, baked matzah. Not only can you dip in water, that's forgiven. You can even cook it.
Yeah. That's gebrocks.
Gebrocks is even it's cold.
Yeah, but I'm saying by the Welt, gebrocks means they cook with matzah.
Right, exactly.
By the Welt,
matzah rice. Kamachkoli or roasted flour. This is interesting because this is actually because not roasted kernels. The flour is ground down. You can make matzah with it, and you roast the flour. When you roast the flour, now it can't become chametz. Therefore, Rambam says, this is the steer later on. Rambam says, but here Rambam says that you're allowed to cook that kind of flour. So cooking water can't become chametz. Now, if you boil the water very thoroughly, the water is bubbling hot, right? 212, and after you throw flour into the bubbling water, that's okay. The patient who was basham yad cooks immediately prior to becoming chametz. Never had a chance. The minute it became in Bavel and in Spain and all the Western countries of Europe, last time was that not to do this. Maybe the water isn't quite bubbling as strongly as you want it to be, and then it's going to
What's bubbling like?
When it's bubbling, you boil it so the point it's
bubbling? A rock.
A rock.
Ah, yes, exactly. You're right.
Are you planning on going?
Darling, my parents are allowed to cook grain or flour in fruit juices. So again, Paris doesn't cause chametz. You can bubble up milk, for example, pure milk from a cow, and then cook it in flour. You have dough that you kneaded with pure fruit juice. The ambition of made Paris, you cook that in fruit juice. Or you fry it in a frying pan with oil. That's okay. Again, fruit juice does not cause any chametz at all. No problem. Caramel. Now you have grain, which you roast not the flour, the whole kernel. You roast it over the fire, and then you grind it. In you cannot cook that flour in water, even though you already roasted the kernel. The can't become chametz. And maybe you did not cook the kernel very thoroughly. Flour is very delicate. If you roast it, it's roasted. But a grain kernel, maybe the center is not perfectly roasted. Then when you cook it, it becomes chametz. Similarly, when you're mail kederis, this is a mail in of taking a new pot. And mail is the idea of making it that shouldn't absorb. So when you want to cook a soup in this brand new earthenware pot, half the soup gets absorbed in the walls, you don't have the soup anymore. So if you first make it waterproof on the inside by baking this interesting type of dough inside it, that doesn't happen. That's what mail means. There's an English word for it. Basically you make it less porous, basically. So now this process obviously is that you're taking flour and water, you're going to make, and you mix, you put it in this pot to make it for Pesach. You cook soup without losing it. You have to first be baked matzah, you ground down into matzah milk. But roasted grain also is not allowed. Not just here the Rambam doesn't say that the kernel is roasted. He says the flour is roasted. It still isn't also. This is a clear contradiction to Halacha Gimel, where he said he could do roasted flour. So maybe he means that the kernel is roasted, but it's not. It's not. Okay, but that's very shver. Maybe it's not roasted well. And you come to chametz. Basically, between halacha gimel and here, we have a clear steer in the Rambam. If you have ground flour for matzah and you roast it thoroughly, can you not cook with it on Pesach? Halacha gimel, he says yes. Here he says no. Okay. Halacha above. Ein boilin es al shein mind of sorry.
He's talking about.
Kemach kole means that the flour was roasted. He's saying you're not allowed to use that for this process. So it's a steer. Ein boilin es al shein mind Pesach. You're not allowed to stir barley in water on Pesach, because that's something they would do. You would do that in order to remove the husks. The patient often because since it's soft and it becomes very easily, that's a good not to do that. In both, if you did that in it becomes soft to the point. That if theoretically you put it on a roasting pan, which you normally cook loaves of bread or matzah on, he's back with that point. It would immediately burst. Certainly, if it gets soft to that point, it's also you have to do this test. You have to know like that point. If it doesn't become that soft, it's muti. You have to obviously bake it right away. Bake it, should become chametz. But that's the standard for barley. Now chitim wheat, you're allowed to soak in water in order to remove the bran, because wheat apparently is not as delicate and not as soft, and it's firm. It doesn't become chametz so easily. But you have to right away grind it as you do fine flour. Again, everyone here adds Eretz Yisrael. So here, again, the minig is all in Bavel and in Eretz Yisrael and in Spain and in Western Europe. Right. So you leave not to soak water in a wheat in water. Maybe you're going to forget about it and still sit there and come chametz. You have to cook a dish, and you find a wheat kernel in your dish.
No, third.
or a barley kernel, by both. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If that kernel popped, if it cracked, or is called also
Sprouted.
No, in this case it means it cracked. It cracked because of the heat.
Crap.
Yeah.
Oh, because of the
Yeah. So I call it also the whole food, the whole dish is forbidden. Because it has chametz min, and chametz is also mashu. If that kernel of wheat did not crack, so if you take it out and you burn it, the rest of the tafshu you could eat. Because grain that has mixed with water or that did not crack is not chametz gomer me'atera. Any other this is the rabbanon. Therefore, the chum permitted you to eat the rest of the dish, even though they required you to throw out that one kernel. Halacha tes.
No, it's not that it says. Liberals and Basho, below the Baku.
So in the case where the kernel did not crack, so it's also the rabbanon. But the chum only asked that kernel, they didn't ask the entire dish.
If it cracked.
Because grain, which was got mixed with water, but did not crack open, is not chametz gomer shel
That
Torah.
says not. Chametz gomer shel Torah.
She'ein hadaga shnil misbaka chametz shel Torah. She'ein is saying that it's not. She'ein hadaga shnil misbaka chametz gomer shel Torah. Grain that got mixed with water and did not crack is not biblical chametz. It's only the rabbanon. So throughout that week, the rest of this being shown you get tests. Because it says, guard the matzah, claiming to say he's orah b'matzah, guard the matzah b'sham reis and guard it. Call it tavshim, it's any possible chametz. Therefore, also the chum said. So if other lazar b'blagan shayil chamat mer, Pesach person is very careful with the grain which he eats on Pesach. Shal yalvin the mayim achas shiftar. It should not come. Above mayim achas shiftar. Should not no water should come on it after it's been cut from the ground and harvested. To the point that you make it to ensure there's no chametz involved at all. Now, grain that was sunk in the river, water fell on it after it's cut, obviously. Also, just you can't eat it. You can't keep it around. You have to sell to another yid and inform him what happened to it. He should eat it before Pesach. Sell it to a guy. He's not going to tell the yid. And if you do tell him, who says the guy's listening to you? If you sell to a little for Pesach. You sell a little bit each one to ensure that he'll eat it before Pesach comes. If you sell him a large quantity, then you might sell it to a yid. He doesn't know.
What do you sell it for? If you can sell it to another yid, you eat it yourself.
You could, unless you have a large amount. So certainly, if I sell it to a guy, you should.
You can always wind up in Jewish hands.
Exactly. Right. You can't tell from it that it's chametz. You can't just let them get it. If you have grain that there's a dripping of water, constant dripping on it. As long as it's consistent drop after drop, the entire day, it's not going to become chametz. Because as long as it be agitated somehow, it can't become chametz. Once it stops dripping, or if you move the weed out of the way, if it's the waste amount of time, which is the shear of a meal, as we'll see soon, and it's also the chametz, it also becomes chametz. Yud Aleph. In Lashon of Pesach, you're not supposed to need a large dough for matzah on Pesach. Maybe it's going to become chametz because it's more difficult to constantly agitate a larger dough. Right. Like a shear challah, only rather the shear of challah, which is the minimum amount which is required to take challah, which is 43 and 1/5 of eggs, right? Which is about just over 9 cups. The in Lashon, you don't usually need the dough. You shouldn't use hot water or water. Chame is water heated in the sun, not water you heat with fire nor with the sun. Not with water that was drawn during that same day. It was set overnight, so we know for sure it cooled down. If you did need the matzah in these waters, and pasasur, it's also because you have to declare you came to.
You have to use mayim shamanu. You can't take water from the tap on the other night.
Well, that's the Rambam. Yes, apparently.
Back then, there was no water from the tap. Either got it from the river or the well.
Yeah,
you had the shalom, but the purpose of shalom and letting it sit overnight is what?
To cool it.
It's to cool it.
Yeah.
How it comes from the well, it's already freezing cold.
No, but it's in the house. So it's that cold.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why do we have to do mayim shalom then?
because it says.
Isn't it better to use
take it
cold water?
during the day? The assumption is you should just measure the temperature. They didn't have thermometers back then.
No, I'm talking about straight from the well. It's freezing cold.
How do you know? If you take it during the day, labdaf, it's freezing
Right.
cold.
The sun is shining.
Or the fact that the sun shines. Yeah, there's a concept of the sun shining.
Some rivers are not so cold.
Right. There's a concept of the fact that the sun shining. It gives us a certain.
Usually well water is very
Yeah.
cold.
So Rashi is talking about the position of the sun in the springtime causes the temperatures of the well to get higher. I'm not a geologist, and I don't know if they'll find the same if they did the experiment.
Because I know I went to
What Rashi says.
they said, for example, the
Yeah.
mikvah, the Arizal is
It's very cold,
an
yeah.
underground. Even in the peak of summer,
It's very cold. It's cold.
Not in well like that.
Yeah.
but that's an example of underground well.
So the Rambam is make otaka if it's Lam Shalom that's cold. But okay, I'm sorry, not Lam Shalom. If you drew it that day,
Right.
And it's cold.
The Rambam said, yeah, but it's okay. All right, good days. So they say a woman or anybody else for that matter should not sit under the sun and knead the dough because it's hot there. Nor should she on the open sky if it's a totally cloudy day. So the day when it's completely cloudy, it's better to be inside than outside. The Gemara says a cloudy sky, a totally overcast, is actually considered hot. Also, the sun's not shining. Shouldn't leave the dough and go be doing something else because you leave it, it's going to come. If she's kneading and baking the entire, if she's side the person who's kneading the dough, side she's also the baker. So she has to have 2 vessels of water. One of them she one with which she kind of smooths the matzah. And one which she cools her hands off. If he does need the matzah under the open sky, or she should not cool her hands down, or she also a large amount. It's mutter. These are all safeguards, but it's okay. What is the minimum amount of dough you have to make to be chayav and taking challah for the chayin? 43.2 eggs, or 43 1/5 of egg. The average size egg, not like the weight. The weight of 43 eggs is a very small. Eggs are light, so you need a very little bit of dough. It's a sheer of the size, the value, exactly. Zayis and kebeir are both a value.
That's with the shell.
It's not with the shell. I think standard egg is with the shell. It's with the shell. You're good. As long as the person is working with the dough, if you look on the entire day, anybody that will become chametz. As long as it's being agitated. If you took your hand off and left it, and you're waiting on the time that it takes, and it rises enough that when you give it a clap, it's like a certain kind of sound, like an air pocket in the top. If you show up, you gotta burn it right away. If it doesn't have that sound, so then it depends. If you wait on time to walk a meal, which is 2,000 amas, which the Rambam is 24 minutes, and we're machmer 18 minutes. You can be assured that became chametz, you show up now, you must burn it right away. Or, sorry, not be sure. You have to assume it may have become chametz. You have to burn it right away.
3,000 feet.
2,000 mil.
2,000 amas, you said.
2,000 amas, right? Sorry, yeah. Right.
3,000 feet. So you're telling me that takes 18 minutes to walk 3,000 feet.
3,000, a little more than 3,000. Yeah, but
Rambam holds 24. We're marked on 18.
Right.
Half a mile.
Yeah, so half a mile, I think it's very doable. That's a max.
You walk around 15 minutes, a whole mile.
Oh, you're saying
Depends who. So you're saying it's going to be less. Right, okay, good.
15 minutes is fast.
Right.
Okay.
Similarly, so if the wheat, if the dough became, means whitened, some translate it as wrinkled.
Yeah.
The surface of the dough, like a person who's near stands on edge and he's afraid. Is also not like eat it. Be not chayav karas. So it's still also material. You probably chayav malchus. It's not chayav karas. So that's we got to that stage only. We got to the stage of 24 minutes. A hiluch meal, or where it makes a noise when you hack it. It's chayav karas.
Yeah.
If it's a lower stage where it became white at this point, then it's also material, but no chayav karas. You have 2 doughs, and I imagine I'm some cases with the same room, same climates, and everything. The same condition. You stop touching them, you left them. And being needed at one time and you waited. One of them, when you hack it, it has a sound, one of them does not. You have to burn both of them. So the meal is only if you don't have another way of determining it's chametz. Once one of them has the sound, that's a more guaranteed assumption that it's chametz if you burn. Test vav. In oisin sedikin, Pesach, you should not make thick loaves of chametz on Pesach. I'm sorry. Testified. Yeah. So.
It's your. Is designed something, you know?
So. Yeah.
It's yours.
Sorry. So he's. In Eisen speaking Mr. Pesach, you shouldn't speak in his thick loaves. The tzion is designed on Pesach. Because it takes time. The woman who does it again. Thing on the win over here because they're usually the ones who do this, right? It will take time making these designs. And at that time becomes chametz. Therefore, the bakers and could make them. They are very bucky in doing this. They make it very quickly. Regular people can't do it. People tourists and especially have like a stamp, it takes 2 seconds. Not allowed to sham. Someone else to do it without the stamp. Cookie cutter. The yishuv is going to wait in the time to become chametz. Design. The water used to wash your hands when you're kneading, right? And the kneading trough. After you finish kneading, and now you have this water, you wash your hands in it. You have the kneading dough. Or you wash the kneading trough with the kneading bowl. And the water that you use while you're kneading the dough itself. When you pour it out, pour it in a place that's sloped, not a place where it's going to gather. You stop to one place, and then become chametz. Good sign. You shouldn't soak bran. Bran is like the shell of the wheat. Apparently, if you soak it in water, it can become chametz. It has a property like that. Yeah, so I thought it was like peanut chaff. I think apparently it's more edible than that. Yeah, okay, fine. So if you shouldn't soak in water before you give it to the chickens. You normally during the year it's done to soften it. And Pesach you should not. It might become chametz. However, you're allowed to boil the bran for them. There is some hot water, and put it in front of them. Because again, we said if you boil the water very well and you pour the bran inside it, that is not going to become chametz. We already said before that the thing is not to do this. The water won't become boiled very thoroughly. Because again, remember today we have controlled temperatures. But back then you had a fire on the water. You can boil, the fire will die down. The water's not as high as you think. It doesn't stay, Today, no controlled fire. It's the same temperature. So. Okay, Yudches. You're allowed to soak the bran for the chickens in the water, or flour for them. You make them eat it right away. I'm sorry. If you feed them right away. You put in front of them, he stands on top of them, making sure they should not wait without the time it takes to walk a mill before they eat it. As long as they're pecking at it, or he's turning it with his hand and he's agitating it, when they stop eating, you should have a clear mind. At that point, you should wash out the keli with water and then pour it again in a place that's sloped down so it should not collect in one location. Good test. Well, a woman should not soak bran that she's going to take with her to the bathhouse to rub on her skin. Right, bran has vitamin E in it. So, but she can rub it on her skin without water, even though her skin may be moist from sweat. It's not a problem. But the person should not chew wheat and then put on his a wound. Because it could become chametz. Now you should not put flour into charis. Charis over here is talking about a mixture of like different kinds of figs and spices and vinegar. And also, again, you start that burn it right away. It becomes chametz very quickly because the vinegar ingredient in the charis mixture that I'm describing would cause the chametz process to be expedited. This is you don't put flour into mustard mixed together. If you did, you eat it right away. We're not very you have to burn it. Now, this is the Rambam says you can't chew chametz and put it on a wound. Is a little surprising because the Hilchos Chometz says that you're allowed to use chametz if you're not nenefim in the regular way. You could use it for refuah, even if it's not pikuach nefesh. Pikuach nefesh, you can eat it. So it's a little bit of a steer. No, but that's not a problem. The problem is when you chew it in your mouth, it's not a problem. You're chewing on the face, that's not a problem. Taking it out of his mouth, putting it on the makkah, it's going to become chametz. But the it's using chametz for refuah, not the chanasa.
But you could eat it.
Yeah, you're not going to. We're not you're going to eat it. The chash is going to become chametz. You're only chametz on Pesach. So based on what it says in the Torah, it'd be okay. But here it's
saying when you enter his mouth, it's not chametz.
No, that's not a problem. Exactly. As long as you're chewing it, that's not a problem. So it's just dinner. Some say it's different answers. Okay. Chaf. You're allowed to put into matzah spices, sesame, ketchup, which is like a kind of parsley, caraway, Into the dough. It's not going to make it come chametz. What's the next word you remember? The mayan or yain?
B'mayim.
The mayan? Okay. So the Maggid Mishnah says yain, and that's very good for us. We'll see in a second. You're allowed to knead the dough or the dough with water and oil, or the shemer, the vash, and cholov, and honey or milk, or the katif, or to use it to base the dough to flatten it, to smooth it. Now, the Rambam told us earlier that water mixed with fruit juice is a big problem. So why is he saying over here it's okay?
Oil.
Well, here it's water with oil, water with vash, or water with cholov. So why over here it's okay? So the Maggid Mishnah says that his version of the Rambam says yain, which is, but over here you say it's water. So, Akash, fine. On the first day, however, meaning the matzah they eat to the Seder, kind of mitzvah he means. That means the first day. That is not allowed to knead it with these fruit juices or to cover them with fruit juices. Only water. It's not because it's chametz, poor man's bread, only on the first day when you're eating kind of mitzvahs have to be mamish lechem eini. The other days, as long as it's not chametz. So the famous Shvag eat matzah ashir, egg matzah, they can't eat it for the Seder. Chaf aleph. Now we're going to move on and talk about kashim your kelim for Pesach. Kol klei cheres, any earthenware keli, shenishtamesh behen chametz v'tzeinu, which you use for chametz for cold, right? You have like a cup for drinking cold water. It's not a coffee cup. It's like a china cup, but it's for cold only. You can use it for matzah, meaning for Pesach, also with cold. Now the chayik is also with hot, because never absorb chametz if you only use it with cold, cold beer. The answer is that if you use it with cold water on Pesach, you might use hot water on Pesach. Sorry, 1 second. I feel like I just said. I just confused two things. I'm sorry. Let's start again. All of the rekadim which use chametz only for cold, so only use it for cold beer, right? You use it for cold water on Pesach. Cold water on Pesach. Good. Now, except for a keli that you put yeast into, because it's very potent. Even though it's cold, still potent. And the clay which you put charesis into again during the year, because it's a very potent chametz, and therefore, even though as they're both cold, the potency will cause the food to become taste of chametz. We're kneading bowl which you knead chametz in. Which you leave the dough that becomes leaven, chametz. It's like a base error. It's like a base error, which is when you make yeast. In Pesach, you cannot use it on Pesach. Good chav base. So now the we said if you only the kli cheres that you use it cold on during the year, you could use with on Pesach cold as well. If you use it hot during the year, drink hot beer, you can use it on Pesach cold as well, because if it's cold, it's not going to absorb. But if you use it on during the year on Pesach, we're afraid you're going to use it with hot. Okay, chav base. Bin shel cheres. You have an earthenware roasting pan. Which you roast, bake chalas the entire year, right? A cookie pan. And if you love matzah Pesach, you cannot bake matzah on Pesach, obviously. But here's the point: see how you filled it with coals, and you fire up the place where you had the dough on it, and until it gets white hot. Then the matzah, because that's basically a classic case of limud. Chaf gimel. Clay matachis metal kalim. Clay avonim and stone kalim. The shamash ben chametz. The kedushin that were used chametz with hot clay rishon. So a classic case, you have like a chametz, a pot made of metal or stone. You go in kedeiros pots, velofsin or stew pots. You put this one before Pesach. On Pesach much harder kasha. You put them into a larger cavity full of water. I'm sorry. Yeah, you fire up the water until it's boiling, until it expels the chametz taste. Then afterwards, you rinse it in cold water so that the hot chametz to the water on the wall should not be back inside. Yeah, but okay, well, shit usually means cold water anyways. But then you can use it with matzah. You can cook chametz in the chicken soup. It has a kid naive. It's matich as a halav as a nitzo. The previous you have to fire up, you have to heat the blade and the handle in a kriyishin. Then you can use it with a gush Pesach. Now today, contemporary now is more complicated, but that's the basic halacha. Chav dal. Klei matachos la'avonim because the shervedi the mice is almost of it. Klei matachos la'avonim kalim of metal or stone. Klei eitz in wood. Shesham behem chametz u'klisheni. Now we use chametz u'klisheni. The previous halacha Rambam discussed kriyishin. He doesn't mention wood. He mentions metal and stone. not wood. I don't know why. I don't know if the halacha changes. Okay, you're going to order the occasions, cups and plates. These are a cliche. You don't cook in a plate. You pour the soup from the plate into the pot into the plate. You put into a larger cavity. You put upon them hot water, but since they absorb by having water poured or hot water or chametz poured onto them, you kasha having hot water poured onto them. Of course, you can also bubble and condition if you want, but you don't have to. You leave inside the amount of time. It doesn't tell you how many seconds it is, but use your imagination until it expels the shear, the chametz inside of it. Afterwards, when you wash with cold water, they use it for matzah for kosher pesach. All earthenware kalim. Oh, this is earlier. That used hot, but you have a hot beer that you're drinking in this mug, and it's an earthenware mug, like a regular coffee cup. Then kli rishon, whether it's a kli rishon, okay, there's like pots. Then kli sheni or a kli sheni, then cars like bowls. Then shem mashuch and mashir ba'avar, whether they were smeared with a glaze like china. Look like it's glass. Or they're just pure earthenware, pure clay. You can't use with kosher pesach. You use it after pesach, and after pesach you cook with it. This is to negate the opinion of the Gemara who says that if you own it on pesach, you have to break it. You don't toss them that way. But again, the reason why you cannot use this on pesach with cold is because you might use it top. What? Right, clay rishon. But if you did use it, you drink wine out of such a cup. The wine is kosher. You can pour it in a different cup. But it's okay. Kli rishon just like you have a kli rishon, you want to kasher it. You can't put it in another pocket. It's the largest pot you have. What do? You make a lip for it of clay or mud on the outside. When you fill the water to the point the water now goes above the edge and sits there being enclosed, restrained by this extra lip you made. You heat the water up inside of it, that's sufficient. And then you rinse in cold water. You can use it afterwards.
Does anyone park this off the streets? In front of the garage? Or you go